Welcome back to another episode of the Bridge the Gap podcast, powered by Revenue Reimagined. We have a incredible guest with us today, who I've known for a long time. We'll talk a little bit about that. But Andy Mowat, who has helped build companies like Upwork, Box, Culture. He built Gated, which is one of my favorite and most missed apps of all time. And now he's tackling one of the riskiest, most expensive parts of go-to-market, executive hiring, as the CEO and founder of Whisper. This conversation is going to be a little bit therapy session, a little bit teardown of how growth companies think about talent, and why go-to-market might need a Whisper network more than a playbook. Andy, welcome to the show, man.
It's great to see you guys.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Andy, that the amount of companies you've worked in and helped try to scale multiple unicorns, one pattern you called out often is GTM teams building things backwards. What do you mean by that?
It's interesting. I don't recall doing that one. That may be a Chat GPT make up hallucination, but I'm happy to riff on it for sure. GTM teams doing it backwards. Where do I get it wrong? I think I look at it as you got to get the foundations right in GTM, right? Like you have to have aligned leadership, and everyone's like, oh, that's the last thing, or let's just get the people in and we'll figure it out. And so I just can't tell you how many times leadership is not aligned. And so we do a lot of, it's funny, we've got our podcast where we how I hire, where we talk to leaders just about one thing, like how do they hire? And I can't tell you the number of people that they're really, really thoughtful about making sure. I always ask, like, how do you make your first executive hire? How do you do that stuff? And I've been in a lot of companies where leadership is not aligned. And then you have people that are running in 1,000 directions. Everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. They're all playing, none of us set out to execute in the wrong ways, but we just execute the way we think is best for the company. But if the strategy is ambiguous or changing, you're kind of fucked. And so I think a lot of people are like, let's just get the best people on the bus. But if you have the best people on the bus, but you have unaligned, shitty leadership, things aren't going to work well.
Yeah, and I think that's where the conversation had led from in building things backwards. Like we just hire people because we think we need more BDRs, we need more salespeople, we need more. Like they have some kind of formula calculated in their head versus what is the right strategy? How can we execute on a strategy? What's the right product market fit? And then you back into it versus let's just go hire people, growth at all costs type of thing. And that's where a lot of GTM teams get it wrong. And then it is very costly for them to back out of that process.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we spend a lot of time. Everyone thinks of Whisper just as the deepest database of unposted go-to-market roles, and yes, we are that. But we also want to help people make the right decisions on the companies, right? So I'd say a couple factors there. One is trajectory of company and breakout. We could talk about that. Second one is the CEO. The CEO matters a lot, and we've kind of had the 8 ways to pick the CEO and what are the right questions to ask. We do a lot of like background diligence, and then people are, every time you go into an interview, you can ask anything, and you get to learn a lot. And so normally people historically have thrown that stuff away, but they're contributing that to our database, and they've been doing that for 4 years, right? So we know the backstories on virtually every company out there of what's good leadership, what's bad leadership, how are decisions made at companies, and so that helps us really help our executives on the pro side make the right choices for their careers.
Sure.
So it's a balance, right? And I think you touched on this a little. Companies are looking for the right executive, right stage, right person, right time. I often say, like, if you're, a Series A startup, you probably shouldn't go hire that VP of sales from Salesforce. Probably not going to be the right person. But one thing that I don't think people pay enough attention to, and I think it's part of why we see the attrition that we see in startup land, is this the right company for me? Not just the right comp plan, not just, the right product. Is this the right company? Am I asking the right questions? And there's all sorts of gurus on LinkedIn who will tell you, like, hey, here's the guide of the 10 questions you have to ask in an interview. And you could have it for $39.99, and it's changed my career. And like, oftentimes those aren't the right questions. With a dual-sided marketplace, like, how do you balance? Is it the executives that you're serving to get the proper talent, or do we lean on making sure that the talent finds the right company and stays, longer than what is probably 12 months the average tenure for executive sales?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Whispered, I think a lot of people see Whispered and they say, "Oh, you're another recruiter." Recruiters work for companies. We work for the executive, and I built it
Mm,
that way on purpose because if you think about it, when you're a top, and Adam, you and I have had lots of good chats about this too. Like when you pop your head up, you don't know where to focus. The companies that are breaking out are very, very different than the ones that are 4 or 5 years ago, especially in today's economy. Your network is stale. You don't know how the game is played. Rules aren't posted, and it's lonely, right? So we built Whispered not for the company, but for the executive. By doing that, now a lot of companies are finding us and they're saying, "Hey, you've got rockstar executives in there." And so there was a post yesterday from the CEO of Unify, like he just pinged us, and we're getting pinged like daily now on like, "Hey, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this?" There's a lot of things we don't do, right? We don't call people, we don't chase down candidates, we don't outbound to candidates, we don't hold their hands, we don't background reference. We are on the side of the executive, which means that if a company has a role, particularly if it's unposted, and they bring it to us, it's free. And so that's why we very rapidly built the deepest database. I think to your point on like there are a lot of coaches out there that will sell you for $1,000
anything, anything.
how to make anything, how to make your LinkedIn better, how to make your resume better, how to do this. We have 98 playbooks on everything from what is a talent partner, how do they work, how to talk to them, what are the secret questions, how to show up, how to research them. We've got 98 playbooks. They're all free. Anybody can come and look at that. Like our job is if there's a tactic that we know is working, we want to give that away for free. We really focus on the pro side around the network to get the roles, and all that. I think the other thing you touched on is marketplace. Everyone assumes we are a marketplace and there's some sort of supply and demand imbalance. There's no limit on the roles, but like we look at it as we're here to help the executive find and win and land those roles rather than just sort of match people. And so there's a lot more to it than to me. It's like, cool, there's a role at X company. But you have to be able to walk in the door. You have to get the network. You have to have the backdoor connections to be able to do that. We've built all that as well too, and so for us, we don't have a marketplace problem.
I'm
Yeah,
looking. I'm peeking at the website now. You did a really good job on your website, by the way.
because he can't focus on one thing at a time, Andy. So he's
I,
got to like
I'm
do
focused.
multiple things at one time.
I am very
Yeah,
focused on what we're talking about, Dale. Thank you very much. Please
Adam,
ask your question, Dale. It's your turn.
I would say while you're looking, go to app.whisper.com. You'll see all the roles. We just don't
Yeah.
share the names of the companies. So it's
Yep.
like if anyone, like, do they really have a deep database? They're all there.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. Where do a lot of leaders screw up the go to market org design, Andy? Like, what is the biggest problem you're seeing?
Decision making. I literally was talking to a unicorn yesterday that has a three-headed monster for GTM decisions. So if you think about it, if the CEO is having to make those decisions, Dale, between sales, marketing, and CS, that may not be efficient. Like personally, I would never go to a company where the CEO is the decider across GTM. I think obviously, like less than call it 10, 15 million, that actually makes sense. The CEO should be the decider. But at some point,
Yeah,
you reach a point when the CEO has so many other responsibilities: product, fundraising, leading the company, the board, the culture of the company. That if the CMO and CRO and CCO and RevOps people all need to go to that CEO to make that decision, then you've got something wrong and decisions aren't being made. So I'm always looking personally for pushing that down. Now, we had this guy Mike Weir on our podcast, former CRO at G2, now at Finalis. He had this great comment, which was he went to talk to the CEO, and the CEO said, "No, I'm not hiring a CRO. I'm hiring a CSO." But it was an incredibly thoughtful answer around, "I get it, but I need you not focused on renewals. I need you focused on logos, and I'm willing to accept the responsibility of that stuff." I think a lot of CEOs are just kind of like, "Cool, all responsibility rolls up to me, and I'm the decider, and bring me all the decisions," and it turns into a shit show. And
yep.
so that is Adam sneezed because I think he was so viscerally opposed to that. So that would be like I spent a lot of time thinking about like how do decisions get made within that. Like if you think about the roles I've played, I've always run like RevOps, which is one of the most massively cross-functional things. And it can be like mind-boggling if you have to get everybody's decision on this stuff. I mean, I had one where I had to like 9 months to bring people along on something that should have been like a 5-minute thing. I talked to another
Mm.
VP of RevOps the other day. She's like, it took me like 6 months to like convince everybody that we needed this one thing. And I'm like, God, that should be like a 5-minute decision, right? And so clarity of decision making at the company level and
Where
where
does
that
RevOps report into?
I don't care. I care. I honestly, I've reported to finance. I've reported to COO. I've reported to CRO. I've reported to chief growth officer. It does not matter. What I care about is A, can you get the air cover? B, does the person understand that function? Like I think a lot of people
Mm.
will get on podcasts and talk about SDR needs to report here, RevOps needs to report here. It's like I could care less on these things of like the actual
I
reporting ones.
maybe the better question is, of those people or type of roles that you've reported into, who's given you the most support and air cover to be successful in your role?
But it's not by function; it's by people, right? Like
Okay,
so, yeah. It's
fair.
like I've also reported to CFO. It's like it's like it does not matter, right? Like it's the how connected is that person, and can you manage up to that person in the right way, and can they use data, right? Like it's I
Sure.
could I could care less who it is. I mean, if I had my preference, the ideal is CRO owns all of revenue. RevOps reports to CRO as a peer to head of sales, head of marketing.
Yep.
But you got to remember that like some orgs are more marketing driven, more sales driven. Some are more product driven, and so like every culture has their thing. I think I kind of look at what are the pieces on the ground right now, and are decisions being made well. It's not like there's
Sure.
one standard template that needs to be put into place for companies.
Sure.
So getting a job is hard, right?
Yeah.
Both on the recruiter side and on the candidate side. There's recruiters out there who we all know that say that they're the best at like everything it is they do. And recruiting has been broken for a long time. I think executive search, executive hiring, whether you are the company or whether you are the candidate, like it's been broken. What made you believe that Whispered is actually the right way to go about this, to tackle the talent problem? Because this is a vastly different approach. And I do agree with, and I'm going to paraphrase your tagline, that most jobs out there are whispered long before they're ever posted. What made you say, I'm going to build a platform for this?
Yeah, so first I would say I don't necessarily believe recruiting is broken. I think people got to remember that recruiters do not work for you. Period, full stop. I think so many candidates, this is something we actually struggle with. People like, I don't need you, I'll just call some recruiters. But here's the reality, like you can't call that recruiter back every week and check in with them and stuff like that. And so recruiters have a job. I mean, I see this convo, every recruiter, every talent partner has this convo probably 30 to 40 times a week. Nice to meet you, you got a great background. Don't have a role for you. So right now, our biggest source of things, and people, I mean, people are hearing this every day. I signed up somebody the other day that had 4 VCs and 2 recruiters be like, "Nice to meet you, no role. Go check out Whispered. It's amazing, right?" And so that's been our biggest source. So I don't believe recruiters are broken, um, and so I didn't start to solve recruiters. What I think the problem that wasn't solved was there's nobody on your side. It's lonely. So I think everyone gets punched in the face in their career at some point, right? It's the day when you
Hmm.
can't follow your boss, when nobody's calling you to pull you out, and you've maybe left that job, or you're scared shitless, right? So I've had that 3 or 4 times in my career. Most people get punched in their face maybe in their late 30s, early 40s. That's really hard. I got punched in my face at like 25 when I graduated from Stanford Business School in '01, and there were no jobs. There was
Mm.
nothing. And so I was like, shit. So for 6 months, I was unemployed. I had to get really, really good at networking really fast. I had to figure out how to explain myself well. And I ended up working for this billionaire family that was just an amazing family, but they were like not in tech. And so I ended up talking my way into working directly, running BD and RevOps for the CEO of Upwork, coming from a family that ran movie theaters, right? So that was then I was running a outsourced virtual assistant company, and I ended up talking my way into Box running post sale ops post IPO, right? And so it's like, and then Carta, I was leaving Gated, and I was able to take over RevOps there, right, at a $450 million company. So like you need to be able to explain yourself clearly. It's scary. You're like, I don't know who the recruiters are. Recruiters move every couple of years. I don't know which of the hot companies. And so what I did when I wrapped up Gated, Adam, I was scared. I was like, dude, I'm 48 years old or 49. I'm like, am I ever going to be unemployable again? And I'm like, fuck. Okay, so I got to do this different. So I called all my friends, and I still do have a pretty deep network in RevOps. And I said two things. One is, when you interview with a company, what do you do with that information? I need to know who the hot companies are. And so they were like, I don't know. I have a Google sheet. I'm like, cool. Can you throw that in this form that I have every time you meet a company? So I started rapidly building this database on that. And then I said, like, every time a recruiter calls you and you don't want the job, can you call me? And so that's how this started. And so I built it for me. And then I'm like, oh shit, like I'm seeing amazing data and amazing insights. So I kind of took the job at Carta. Had a really fun run, got to work with great people, but I kept it on like a low burn, and the data just started flowing in. And people have always throughout my entire career, I think because I got good early at networking, everyone's like, Andy, you're the most networked person. I didn't do it because I'm like, I want to be networked. I was like, I got burned early and it
Mm.
hurt. And so I see a lot of people now. I mean, like Oracle just did a huge layoff. Like, I'm seeing a lot of people who've been like 17 years at Oracle. I'm like, shit, you just got punched in the face for the first time ever, right? Like that's going to really, really, really sting. And so it's lonely. I mean, it's like, I don't know who to reach out to. I've only ever had one node in my career. How do I find those unposted roles? And like, that's what we built it for executives. Now, what we found is talent partners and recruiters absolutely love us, and we collaborate insanely well with them in some really cool ways. And I'm happy to talk more about that.
People buy from people. That's why companies who invest in meaningful connections win. The best part? Gifting doesn't have to be expensive to drive results. Just thoughtful. Sendoso's intelligent gifting platform is designed to boost personalized engagement throughout the entire sales process. Trust me, I led sales for a Sendoso competitor, and I can tell you, no one does gifting better than Sendoso. If you're looking for a proven way to win and retain more customers, visit sendoso.com.
As a follow-up to that, do you think the best GTM teams of the future will be built in public or in private networks?
I think that if you are hiring director or below, you should post. I think as you get to VP, if you are at a hot company and you post a VP level role, welcome to 3,000 applicants, 299, 195 are wildly unqualified. And so then your talent team has to spend months either ghosting those people, which people are like, fuck that company. Like, I can't believe OpenAI ghosted me for the VP of whatever role, even though it's clear that I'm not qualified. We had a great guest on our podcast the other day. He's like, you might have been CRO, but like, have you been CRO at this and this and this? And we all know it's like, I'm not just looking for like, did you have CRO on the title? Of course. I mean, like, I see something like VP of X at OpenAI pop up, and I see people like, I can do that, I can do that. I'm like, no, you can't.
Sure, you
And
can.
it's like, and so like, do you have the self-awareness? And not everybody does. So
Yeah.
like, imagine if you're a company and you're dealing with that. I mean, I had a friend at another unicorn. He posted a director level role. I got 40 pings from my network, like, hey, can you ping that person and help? And I pinged my friend, and he's like, dude, you're like a brother to me. But I've had 55 other people just like you. So we all know the front door of applying online sucks. We all know the tactics of go use your network for the back door. I think the back door is even getting fucked now. Like if a role gets posted, everyone knows like go find your network and do that. So then why as a company would you post a role? Personally, I will post, like I had some great experiences at Carta where I posted director/senior director roles, and I found candidates that I wouldn't have expected. But I think you get to a certain point when it's more about cultural fit. It's about specific skills and backgrounds where you actually want to be outbounding to it. And so like, but these roles are also unique. So your talent team is going to really excel at like IC, manager, director, but you get to like VP, like the talent team doesn't do all those the time. So then you're faced with a decision of, do you hire, somebody amazing as a recruiter externally that does this all the time? Do you call it whispered? And we're very clear. Like, we're not going to be a full service recruiter if we can't do. If we'll send you a quick pass on amazing candidates quietly looking, and that's all we do. And then we'll refer you to one of the great recruiters. And so I'm a big fan of. I mean, I personally would not post a VP plus level role.
Yeah.
You'd whisper
Yeah.
it.
I would.
Yeah.
Listen, I could be your marketing VP. I'm wildly unqualified, but if someone thinks they could be the CRO of OpenAI, I could be the VP of marketing for Whisper.
I think you actually could whisper because our bar is a little lower than OpenAI. But I love it when you get passionate about something, Adam. You start really talking about it, which is fun. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about the brand, right? Like, this is not Andy's recruiting agency. This is. I remember when I saw the tagline come across. I spent like 5 hours on ChatGPT, and it's like, your next role won't be posted; it'll be whispered. I was like, oh crap! I need to go buy that domain.
Yeah. Good, Adam. You're so passionate. Let's go.
It's funny. So the past 2 episodes, I've been called out on that. Like, Dale could tell when I'm in and when I'm not. And he messaged me at the last episode. He's, dude, I love seeing you so hyped up about this because otherwise, and I don't.
You're turning around and ordering a coffee from the guy behind you if you're not pumped, right? I wouldn't want to be on one of those podcasts that Adam wasn't pumped on.
I am. So I run a 49-inch monitor at home. I'm traveling now and I'm on my laptop. But like, Dale will call me out and he'll be like, "Dude, I see you looking at your Slack in the top left of your screen. Like, will you pay attention to the podcast, please?" Andy, when you look at I want to shift gears a little bit just because you've spent time. Obviously, at some very large companies, and now doing what you're doing. We're talking a lot about like hiring a VP of sales or hiring an executive. When, in your opinion, is the right time to bring in a VP of sales? Like, this is a debate we have. We see it on LinkedIn all the time. We have it with our clients all of the time. When do you bring in a VP, and when is like, no, like, Mr. or Mrs. Founder, like, you need to be selling, or you need some fractional help to build the foundation? Like, what's the right flow based on your experience?
Not only that, we have a playbook on exactly that with a table of, for every go-to-market thing, for every stage, when do you hire? So I will consult I'll send it to you. You guys can stick it in the notes, but it's whisper.com/post/stage.
Please,
so,
and with proper credit, if you'll let me, I'll even throw that in a newsletter as well.
Oh, totally. I would love it. Yeah. So we get asked this all the time. Before I answer your question, I'll just kind of like, somebody will show up and they'll be like, "I want to be CMO. I'm interviewing to be CMO at a seed stage company." We're like, "Holy shit, alarm bells need to go off right now." Because either you're totally don't know what you're doing, or the company doesn't know what they're doing, but like, run away. And so we built this table to guide people, because a lot of people don't understand this stuff, right? And so you asked about CRO or VP of sales, because I'll answer it differently depending on the different ones.
VP of sales.
Yeah. So VP of sales, I'm generally looking at like more than 2 million in revenue. It's kind of at like the channel market fit is really where you're focusing in, not on the product market fit. I'd say CRO comes more like 15 to 25 million of sales when you really want to push it down there. So we think through, like, I'll see if I can find this one and drop it to you guys, because I think it actually could be a really fun discussion. Can Riverside? We can probably share this stuff. Chat. Aha. Okay, here we go. Boom, done. We think a lot about this, and you guys, I'd love to have you guys tear it down. We probably sat with 30 talent teams at venture firms and asked this question. And I think I tend to think we try to correlate their stage, there's employees, there's funding amount, there's revenue, and all of these different things. And so, yeah, you could rip it apart, but that's at least our current belief. I think it is changing a little bit with some of these AI companies, right, where they're just hitting the ground, going so fast and scaling. But this is kind of the current guidance we've got for people.
And Andy, are you seeing a bigger or a change in market from hiring somebody full time that may or may not be the right fit versus kind of some of the stuff that we're doing, which is a fractional world? To like, we've done it a lot, we've seen a lot of different things, and so it'll be a fractional start to get the foundation laid, then hire the person to just run the execution.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that's kind of coming in at seed/early A, Dale. If you're talking about the sales side, I think there's a lot of founders that don't know sales. I think there's always, we talk about like the founder needs to sell the first, like, maybe it's not 1 million, but they need to sell the first like 500,000-600,000. I'm sure you guys are saying, like, I've seen a couple great folks where they basically say to the founder, like, send me 30 gong calls, and we will be able to tell you the 10 mistakes you're making. And I think that's insanely valuable. I
Yeah.
always guide people, and I'd be curious how you guys guided. But if you're at that stage, like, don't just bring in some salesperson, expect them to solve your problems.
Yeah.
Figure out what is repetitive in your motion. Start to identify what those repetitive pieces and get junior people taking off the repetitive pieces. And eventually the whole sales process becomes repetitive, and you figure out how your top of funnel works. And then you're off to the races with a great VP of sales. I think where you screw it up is you're like, I'm going to go hire somebody, bet the farm on them, let them hire 3 AEs when we don't really have emotion. And that's where I love fractional as well.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really where, we built this motion called the go-to-market gap. And what we realized when we started doing this was people have started to do what you're saying. Like, you have a product founder, operational founder, got to $1 million in ARR. They feel like they have product market fit. They may or may not. Then they're like, we need more top of funnel. I need to go hire 3 BDRs. And then because of what they've done, they're not necessarily in the space of knowing how to hire a VP of sales. So then it could put your whole company back 12 months, right? So,
oh God, it's
More
not
than
just
that.
12 months. It's life. It's killing the company, right? Like, if you're at that stage, you think about the way VCs are right now. It's like, if you hit a bump, you're no longer the sexy girl at the party.
yeah. Yeah. The second, so we have stabilization, foundation, repeatability, because everyone wants this repeatability stage, but they have no foundation. And they're like, I don't know if I have the right sales team. So we always try to stabilize them. Like, how do we stop the bleeding? How do we get some of the deals closed? Then let's build a proper foundation, whether that's HubSpot, Salesforce, getting some of that motion. Like, I call it momentum. Like, you need to get into a momentum stage before you can get to a repeatability stage, and then out to scalability. But the biggest challenge I think people have is that the investors are now pushing them, or they were. I think this is probably 12 months in a rear. They're pushing them to go hire a VP of sales because that was the old playbook. Now people are realizing that's not really necessarily the right playbook. You can iterate faster with someone that's done it. But what I'm seeing now is investors asking these CEOs, like, what's your AI strategy and charter, and where are you going with that? Now, whether the investors even know what they're talking about, another whole conversation that we can have on a separate day. But so what we're starting to work with our founders on is traditional go-to-market or AI augmented go-to-market. And so the problems are still the same. I still need top of funnel. I still need to move things through the deal. I still need to close. Those things aren't different. It's just the way you solve the problem can be different if you build a strategy. So we've been doing a lot of AI charter work with people above go-to-market. So it's not like AI is not a go-to-market thing. AI is an organizational thing that needs
I
to be at the
couldn't agree
CEO
more.
level.
I think a lot of investors and CEOs think sprinkle mat. I've heard so many times friends have been like, just AI it, you'll be fine, right? And you're like, oh no, it's like, it probably will end up being a shit show, as the MIT study showed.
They're experimenting. The way I like to categorize it is you're experimenting with AI and you don't have an AI strategy. If you want to be AI orchestrative or native, you need a strategy that you execute on, just like a go-to-market strategy. You don't, you do, a lot of people do, just go start blasting messages out, but you're not going to get you're not going to get the ROI on what you're paying for.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, no,
I mean,
I
that's
think
your
it's also
outbound
key
strategy, Dale.
I'm guessing you guys focus on specific stage. It's like, you're probably very tuned to, our sweet spot for our value is here. And I deeply believe it. Like, there's the stage when people haven't started. You can see in our table when you start building out your VP level ranks at the B and the C, and then you start hiring your C level at the C and the D. It's like, but before that, I think people should absolutely be leveraging something versus you're effectively betting the company on your wrong sales hire. If you
Yeah,
get
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, as you look out, call it 2 to 3 years. I don't think you could really go 3 to 5. How does hiring and org design evolve over the next couple of years?
I mean, I think we're seeing streamlined junior level folks in many of these functions. The obviously the CS support function is probably happening. I mean, ideally, there's always kind of a human in the loop type of thing. I was listening to, I think it was the CEO of Tech.com the other day talking about that, which is like just fully AIing it, like SDR or CS or something like that. It's going to be a doomed loop. But everyone should be more data enabled with AI supporting them. So I think you're going to see more efficient functions. I think if you are a leader and you don't know how to use AI, you're probably going to be left behind. And and so like we literally are, it's high demand. I just have to do it. Is we'll probably have like one of our many execs that are on the bench right now come on in and just teach like a clay class to the execs that have never played with that stuff before. I think I try to bring in guests to our member huddles that can help people understand AI and how to think about that as well too.
Do you think the CRO role is going to splinter, or do you think it's going to consolidate?
I mean, I think you need somebody that owns revenue and can drive the decisions across that. So I don't know. I don't know how it would splinter, and I don't know how it would consolidate. Right? Like it's like if there's a head of revenue. I mean, I think of CRO. Obviously, the title's used many ways, but to me, CRO is the head of revenue. I think some
Yep.
people in the marketing side will quibble over that, right? Which is the CMO needs to report to the CEO, but then you've got that CEO CRO dynamic. I mean, I had somebody pay me yesterday and they were like, "Hey, I saw this VP of marketing. I hope it reports to the CEO." And I was like, "Whew, I hope it doesn't." And so, I mean, to
It's
me,
just
I
an
think,
ego thing. Like
Yeah,
that's just a pure
100%.
ego thing. Like
well, I do think the CEO is, for good or for bad, like has strong opinions on marketing. And so, if you have to go through a CRO to do that, I understand that point, right? But it's also like you get what you pay for kind of thing, or it's like you accept the bargain that the CEO may send you in wild goose chases or not really understand marketing, whereas ideally a true CRO is just as that one, as Mike Weir talked about, which I just love this quote, was the true CRO owns revenue and needs to understand marketing at a deep level. A chief sales officer knows how to close business. And so I think both can work. I'm a big believer in the power of brand and great marketing and over investing in marketing, but you just need a
or
decision. Yeah, you just
or
need a
maybe
decision
we're
structure.
or maybe we're just not comping marketing in the right way. Like maybe marketing needs to be seen as a revenue generator through qualified top of funnel. Like
We could
so
do
for
a whole
all,
separate show on this.
I mean, to me, the proper place, like I don't think you limit the conversation from the CMO to the CEO. Like you still got to have those conversations. But like you're saying, as you're growing, someone needs to make a decision that is not the CEO on everything go to market. And so,
I,
if we tie compensation and revenue across the marketing, sales, and CS world, you get in a much better place.
yes, and I'd say I think everybody wants to make marketing coin operated and like great market. What then ends up happening is you spend all of your marketing dollars on stuff that has short term ROI and you can measure. But I think great marketing, you need to have 20, 25%, which is listen, like, I mean, think of like what Udi did at Gong, right? Like they did amazing stuff
Yeah.
and you can't measure that stuff, but it fundamentally changed like their positioning versus chorus. And so, like, I think if you truly are like every dollar of marketing needs to be measured, you're going to end up with shitty vanilla marketing and great, and then you end up with bad brand. And so, I think I personally, I advocate for like 20% experimental, like do really crazy things, right? Like Ramp came up with. I mean, now they're like, how many podcasts are you on where Ramp is not a sponsor, right? Like it's like 1%. You guys are probably sponsored by Ramp as well too, right? It's
We're
no,
not, but
come on.
we'll reach out to them next.
Okay, Ramp, come sponsor Adam and Dale's
we'll,
podcast for
we'll, we'll,
sure.
we'll we'll have that media kit go out today.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm talking to them tomorrow. They're trying to sponsor us too, so it's great.
They're good people.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I guess it's like marketing. I guess Dale is my key point. There is marketing needs to be freed to experiment because I've seen too many where it's just. I mean, I know that I can jack up things by boosting more paid dollars, but we all know paid. If you don't have a strategy beyond paid and SEO and events, like you don't have a great top of funnel. I'm always looking
Yeah,
for which companies have
I'm just
innovative things.
I'm just viscerally opinionated around like being only measured on
Everything.
MQLs.
Everything.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, to me, marketing and sales need to meet in the same place. We learned that really early
Yeah.
at Fox, right? Like
Yeah.
it's pipeline. It's not MQLs. I mean, I
Qualified
remember,
pipeline.
yeah, I remember one
I,
company where I showed up, and I won't name the company, but they were like, we weren't allowed to roll out a scoring model because it would have made us look worse from a marketing standpoint. You're just like, oh shit.
yeah.
No, it's qualified pipeline. Pipeline coverage is where marketing and sales
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah.
It absolutely is the case on that. But it's like, don't just treat marketing like salespeople and coin operated. They're very different.
100%. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We,
Oh,
uh,
any
we,
company
we,
that's
we,
measuring marketing on MQL should be shot.
so I can tell you, and I will not name names. We're having this debate with multiple clients right now, where I was on an executive meeting last week, and it's marketing got 497 MQLs last month. Well, you changed the fucking criteria to make yourself look great. Like an MQL means nothing to me. Zero. Like, yes, I want to track where stuff's coming in from, but saying you got 497 MQLs and you're the best marketing team, it's like, no. Where's
No.
the pipeline? Whole separate show.
To me, the pipeline. I've written a fun article on like the power of pipeline coverage. It's actually a hard metric to get, but it's like
Yeah.
but if you have it, it creates the right force tension, right? Which is, we did it at one company, and it was like the coverage was really good, and then sales like, oh shit, like my pipeline's not clean, and so they get there, then they can hold marketing accountable, and then marketing can hold sales accountable. Is like, are you keeping the pipeline clean, and then vice versa, like, do I have enough? And that should be the discussion. And it's also like, say an opportunity gets created with a close date 4 months, 4 quarters out, and then we never get to that quarter. That never really counted because it wasn't really revenue, right? It wasn't really pipeline.
I can't. I can't. All right. We are coming up on time, and in typical Adam and Dale form, we have some rapid fire for you. We know the last question Dale's going to ask, but we'll try to keep him from asking it.
Maybe
And
you
if,
do.
and if I should have read something and known these
Nope.
questions in advance, I
You
don't know them, so I'm totally prepared for
you
this. Go for
absolutely should not have. What's a better first hire, RevOps or demand generation?
it. I'm trying to give you a really good answer. I know where my gut goes. I think it depends upon your go-to-market model. It totally does. There is no right answer to this question. If you are a PLG with high inbound, it's RevOps. If you are an enterprise sale with a heavy ABM and really high ACV, it's demand gen.
That's a good answer. It's
Yeah.
not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite operator to follow right now?
Molly Bodensteiner.
Oh, I love Molly.
Yeah.
Love Molly. I didn't know you knew Molly. I spoke to Molly yesterday.
Oh, Molly's a Whispered alum. She's hired 3 or 4 people off of Whispered. We helped her make the decision on Engine. So Molly actually coded up a good portion of our initial data infrastructure at Whispered. So Molly's a very close friend.
That makes me very happy. She's an incredible human being. Andy, who's one hire you've made that changed everything for you, either role or person?
Ben Levinsky. I interviewed him to run my data team at Culture. He came in second. He was living in Sweden. He's an interesting cat. He was married to an Australian, so he really wanted to work at Culture. But he just kept on me. And so then I hired him to run Mops, and he absolutely rocked it. And
Nice.
so then I gave him SOPs, and we just kept moving him around. And he's so, but it's the kind of guy that I remember having a convo with Ben like 30 days in. I was like, dude, you are one of the smartest guys I've ever met. But I'm gonna have to fire you if you can't like slow down, because he's like, and so he took the feedback really well. It was a really interesting combo, but like he was always bringing me ideas every time. He's like, have you thought about it? But they weren't like, here's some random thing, but he's like, we can go do this. It will drive this. It will drive this. And so Ben learned to channel and deal with like the kind of the ruffling other feathers, and then you take that superstar power that he had along with a more nuanced savviness. He was amazing. I mean, we took Culture from 5 million to 150 million. Ben was a key part of that for sure.
Yeah. Love that. What's the most
trying to hire him,
overused?
but he lives in Australia right now.
Yeah, he's probably down under. Nice. What's the most overused phrase in GTM hiring today?
We only hire great talent. We only hire great talent. Okay, tell me how to assess that, right? Like it's like Does anybody not hiring great talent, right?
I was
Like
gonna say, does anyone say hi? I want to hire shit.
I did talk to a talent partner, and we always we send them talent teams are like A+ people, and they were like, we want to see all of your talent. I said, why? And they're like, well, we have some B companies too. And I was like, okay. But that being said, and I do think it's like not everybody is top 1% talent, but
Sure.
it's also like certain people are top 1% for the situation, and you need to understand that. But I think these like I hear some of these podcasts which are like we only got back great founders. Well, like what's a great founder? Right? Like a great founder is somebody that's like up and to the right in the products there.
Mm.
Like, is that a shitty founder if they just couldn't find product market fit? No. Same thing with talent, right? Like so much people like blame the talent. There's this great quote. I just got to read it. Bear with me for a second here. This is the quote that was like told me why I was building Whisper. It's by Elena Verna, who's now running Go to Market Lovable. Every company. Oh, hold on, crap. Give me a second here. Every company bullshits on the interview process. Nobody tells you the actual problems. They say everything is great. It's butterflies and unicorns. We have so much opportunity. Come join us. When you sign those online and 6 months in, they say, fuck you. You are not performing. And guess what? They just moved on to the next shiny thing that they think will solve all their problems. But you're stuck with it on your resume with a failure point that you have to explain for the rest of your professional career. Why did you not work out of that company? It's perceived as your fault, even though you were not given the right transparent information. You weren't potentially even set up for success in that role in the first place. Adam, we've talked a little bit about this. I know you felt that
Oh,
pain.
yes, we have. I'll call it out by name. Falcon.ai, baby.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't call it out by name, but I was
They're
whispering
they're
in
out, they're
that.
they're they're out of business. It's okay. No one's
Yeah.
no one's gonna do it.
No, but
Yeah,
it's like this is why we built Whispered. When I saw that quote, I was like, man, it is more than just the job. I need to help you make the right decision
Yep.
on your career.
And that's why we
I love
started
it.
Revenue Reimagined. Like all of us have been pitched like we're investors, and you get in there and you realize like if you were just honest with me up front, we could have put a plan together to execute on or know what the challenges are. And so now we have that opportunity because we do an audit that you really should be we do a full go-to-market audit that anyone that's getting hired for these big roles should have the ability to have the information before they make a decision.
I agree, but I mean, let's be honest. Haven't we all like hired somebody and known we're on the way out the door? We
Yeah.
hired somebody to be like, dude, I just know
Yeah.
you're a great hire. I just need to get you in the door. Like that.
Yeah.
That's totally true. I mean, I've got a candidate right now who had a 5-day interview process from meet to offer. They blew
Wow.
away the entire benchmarks and gave more. There's like 4 or 5 screaming red flags, but still, it's a rock star hot AI company, and so this candidate will probably take the role, right? Like, and they're going in eyes wide open, but like, I don't know, it's just like we've all kind of said, like, man, that candidate's just so good, I just need to get them in, and you move from evaluating them to selling them, and it's like, Carta, I knew I was wrapping up when we hired the amazing head of enablement. Like, I couldn't be like, hey, but at the same time, like, I made sure she was really set up for success before I departed. So it's hard, right? Like you can't tell people everything all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Andy Mowat, thank you so much for joining the show. If you're looking for a job, go check out Whisper because you're not going to find it on LinkedIn. You're going to apply. You're going to get stuck in the ATS abyss. There's 7,000 other people who've applied. And by the time it hits LinkedIn, the job's probably already filled. Andy, thanks for joining, man.
Thank you, man. This is a blast.
Thank you.